Netflix, you don't need cable. Hop on YouTube, welcome to the hood table, where we chop up local and global events vocally. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, huh? Laugh a little, get that wine in your system, fill your glass a little. Expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know, these opinions might flash a little. They addicted to the content, got them binge watching. You don't like it, then you want invited. Bet your friends watching in the house and your job parking lot before you clocking. They don't wanna miss a second of this HD content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation, bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn you back until you sorry try again. Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you, Miss Hogg. How you doing? What's up, 2300? You know, I'm from the hood, so we don't say 100. We say 100. 2300 in the house. What's up? Hey, Carrie Ray. Hey, Boom. And Miss Hogg. How you doing, Miss Independent Paparazzi? Y'all just be changing y'all names all the time. I'm trying to keep up, though. I'm trying to keep up. But I don't think nobody ever changed their name as much as Cly, who I think is on her 30th name on YouTube. But anyway, you guys, come on in, like the video, share the video. Y'all can see by the title what we about to do right now. I have my book. It came today in Amazon. I've been waiting on this book by Timothy Blaine, who is a well-known YouTuber in the beef sector. A lot of you guys know Timothy Blaine. If you are in the beef sector and don't know Timothy Blaine, then you ain't really in the beef sector. I don't know what sector you in, but it ain't the beef sector. But anywho, I said when I was gonna when I get this book, I was going to do some book reviews on it. It's 9 chapters in the book. Let me just make sure. Yep, it's 9 chapters in the book, and the first chapter is called Meet Ralph, and that's the chapter that I will be reviewing today. I'll probably do a chapter every 3 or 4 days, because it's going to be people. A lot of people already purchased his book. A lot of them purchased it on, let's see, what do they call it? Kindle. A lot of people can purchase on Kindle, but me, sometimes I purchase books on Kindle, but oftentimes when I either know the person or I'm very familiar with the person, like me and Mr. Blaine don't know each other personally, but you know what I mean. I like to support and actually get a copy or whatever it is that they're selling. I like to have it actually in my hands. So you said you're watching, you're going to have, you said you're at work listening. Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks for tuning in while you're working. I know you work a lot just like me. I'll be working like 10 hours a day, almost every day of the week. So I get it. That's why the reviews on this book, I'm going to do like every 3 or 4 days, a different chapter. Because we have our other things going on, the R. Kelly trial that we're reviewing, as well as our regular TV shows that we do reviews on, like Queen Sugar. The new season started. Episode 2 came on the other day, so I got to review that tomorrow. But yeah, so we're going to squeeze in these book reviews every few days. And for those of y'all who just came in, we are just going to be doing a book review on chapter 1 of Timothy Blaine's newest novel, called Murder in the Beast Sector. If you already read it and you want to comment in the chat on your thoughts, please stick to the first chapter, please, because we don't want to move ahead too fast, okay? All right, so now, first thing first, I want to give a shout out to Timothy Blaine. This is, I believe, I want to say this is his 5th book. If I'm wrong, somebody feel free to correct me in the chat, but I think this is his 5th or 6th book. And a lot of his books, what's her name? Almond, she reads on her, she like does book readings on Almond Brown 09. She does book readings on her channel. So if you haven't read any of his books or heard of any of his books, Almond Brown, I think she's read like 2 or 3 of his books so far on her channel. So you can get over there and listen to her channel, or you can just go to Amazon and purchase his book. any of his books. I will be dropping at the end of the video, and each video I do on the reviews, I will be dropping the link to Amazon where you can purchase his book and the link to his YouTube channel as well. But you said you think you're right. Yeah, I think he's on his fifth or sixth book. Yeah, I think this makes like the sixth one. But anywho, it is a novel. It's based on the B sector. Obviously, we know that. But the characters in the book are not going by any of the names that we're familiar with in the B sector. There ain't no SBs, there ain't no Phis, there ain't no uh Pastor JW, there ain't no Tracy, there ain't, none of those. It's totally like foreign names, made up names. The storylines as well. The storylines are not of any storyline that's in the B sector. Now they may be somewhat similar in some instances, but not the same exact storyline. As I'm sure you know why brother. I'm thinking of Brother Jay. Mr. Tim Wilson didn't do it that way. So now let's get started. First, I want to name off some of the characters in the book. There's Ralph, or he goes sometimes by Ralphie Boy. Well, actually, this is what had happened. He had a dog named Ralphie Boy, and he was thinking of a YouTube name to call himself or to go by, so he chose Ralph. He is the actual writer of the novel, of the story in the book, and he's the one that we start off with. He is like one of the main characters in the book. He created his YouTube channel during the hiatus of the pandemic, which was last year. A lot of people we know, from celebrities on down to us small peons, we started YouTube channels last year. Well, me, I'm on my 6th year from both of my channels, but you know what I mean. A lot of people started YouTube last year during the pandemic. A lot of people was bored, didn't have no jobs to go to. He's one of those people. He's a gay man. He's in San Francisco, lives in San Francisco. He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment, and he watches a lot of YouTube in his spare time. There's also a Miss Heavenly, aka Demonic, which Ralph renamed her, stating that there was nothing sweet or heavenly about her. So instead of Mrs. Heavenly, he calls her Miss Demonic. There is also Brian Buckler, who calls himself the Brainiac, who, as Ralph says, is always talking loud and never has anything to say, just be saying nothing. Then we have Boy Jane. Boy Jane is a female. She is a butch, a lesbian butch. Queen Carol. She has I don't want to give her real name out right now, but we're going to just call her Queen Carol for now. The dragon, aka Shirley Simpson. The dragon gets into a bit of a mess on YouTube with another YouTuber, and we'll get into that. Trina is affiliated with the dragon, aka Shirley Simpson. They had somewhat of a relationship in the book. There is a mysterious YouTuber. I didn't get to his name yet. I don't think they said it in the first chapter. But the YouTuber is a mysterious YouTuber. They're using an avatar. Some of these YouTubers are using avatars. Some of them using their pictures. But this YouTuber is a mysterious YouTuber who just came on the scene, who has like a mechanical voice and uses an avatar. It's like a hooded avatar where you really can't see the face and stuff like that. So those are some of the characters in the book. Now, on the way in, please make sure you like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff. I don't know how many mods I got in the chat right now, but I think I have one mod in the chat right now, but that mod is working. So make sure you guys please like and share the video on your way in. Now, Ralph. That's the first person we're introduced to. Again, he is the writer of the novel and the book. He also, along with a lot of people last year during the pandemic, was sitting around trying to figure out things to do. A lot of people were watching YouTube to pass time, and he had decided, like a lot of us, to start a YouTube channel. Now, in his first video, because he had been watching videos and YouTubers Just regular YouTube videos at first, like how to cook this, how to make this, how to build your house from the ground up, things like that. And then he got into the beef sector, started following a lot of people beefing, and started catching on to some of the stories. Because when you new in the beef sector, you be like, who is this? Who is that? You all up in the chat, and a lot of YouTubers, they be like, don't ask no questions. Who was that? I was watching Cookie this morning, and she was like going off on somebody because they came in the chat. Who you talking about? Who is that? You know what? Cookie went off. But that chat and you asking all these questions, like if you ain't been here, just sit back, watch, and listen. Okay, stay in the bushes, all right. But anyway, so he had started watching, paying attention to the beef sector, and then he figured that he was ready to jump in and get his feet wet, and start doing his own, commentary. The first person he addressed was Brainiac. Now, what he did was he addressed him as a bitch made sissy, and I'll tell you why. Um, Brainiac has issues with homophobic, interracial dating. He be talking under people's clothes, talking under people's skirts. He has issues with just people's sex lives. If they're not like him, then it's a problem, including gay marriages. And Ralph, he wasn't having it. So basically, he told him in so many words, if you don't agree with what certain people are doing underneath the sheets, then you need to just shut the FUCK up and mind your own business, okay? And so that's when the beef began between Ralphie Boy and the Brainiac. And with them doing like so many, that's how it usually starts with the content creators. We know that somebody be doing commentary or talking about somebody and somebody else do commentary on that word person. Then next thing you know, those two people is doing commentary against each other and the beef starts, right? So they were doing like so many content creators do, putting each other names in the titles of their video, atting each other to draw attention for clicks and views as well. And both men eventually began beefing back and forth until somebody finally crossed the line. Somebody done doxed the Brainiac. And from what the writer says, Ralph, it could have been anybody, somebody in the chat, a viewer, another content creator. Nobody knows at this time, but Brainiac's job was leaked and his home address was leaked. And not only that, but somebody that provided his HR and his job with a lot of his YouTube videos showing how his homophobic rants, his racist content, all his videos. So soon after, Mr. Brainiac was homeless and looking for another job because he was already a month behind his rent when he got fired. And as we all know, some of these content creators, especially the big ones, some of them down there jump off a bridge if they lose their YouTube channels because that's literally all the money that they have. What's up, Deanna? How you doing, boo? But yeah, that's literally all the money they have. So when they get fired, they might be this close from losing their house, from losing their job, Now, another one of the content creators in the book is Queen Carol, who the writer describes as once a strikingly beautiful woman years ago. Years ago. She recently became a widow of a man who left her a nice amount of change, a nice bag. She was married to a man named George for 30 years, and he was 30 years her senior, and he died at 93 years old. And with the money that she had from his death, she was sometimes, before she started being a YouTuber herself, she would sometimes be divvying out money to some of her favorite YouTubers, 100 here, 200 here, 300 here, up to $500 on any given day. But after supporting many of her favorite YouTubers, she decided to create her own YouTube platform. But in order to keep people from knowing who she was as the big giver, one of the biggest givers of the sector, and to conceal her age, which was like in her 60s, she used an avatar like so many people do, these avatars. She used the avatar as her profile pic. And the picture on the avatar was a pic that she took 30 years ago. And there is somebody, I would mention their name, but I'm not. But there is somebody that some of you might know. People always talk about this lady's avatar, asking why she putting pictures up from 20, 30, 40 years ago. Was she old? But anyway, I'll let y'all try to figure that one out. But yeah, so she's using the avatar to conceal her age. And one thing we know about Carol is that from the writer, perspective, she's a very bitter and resentful woman, being that she had given up most of her youth to an invalid and an impotent husband 30 years older than her, the one who just croaked at 93. But she did again get a bag out of it. So I don't know why she's so resentful. But anyway, Carol, who likes to give commentary on celebrity gossip, also likes to do commentary on the B sector as well. Kind of like a lot of us over here. Just like many of us, she believes that YouTube beefs were more or are way more entertaining than celebrity gossip, and she is correct. One video Carol made was actually directed at the Brainiac. Now, the Brainiac, after he got doxxed, after he got fired, after he lost his spot, he had been missing from YouTube ever since he got in trouble, at work. And in his absence, Carol received an email from assumably one of her subscribers. In the email was a picture of the Brainiac coming out of an apartment carrying a computer tower in like a bubble packaging or something, and to a waiting moving truck. So it was obvious that the Brainiac lost his place and he had to move, right? So, moving right along, Mrs. Heavenly, who kind of shares a YouTube ship with the Brainiac. After hearing about his business being put out on the YouTube streets through Mrs. Carol, why I say Carol? Queen Carol. She was extremely pissed off. They have a YouTube ship, and what is a YouTube ship? A YouTube ship is not really a friendship. Like, you don't know these people for years. You just met them online. You like them. They like you. You develop some type of bond, but it's still a YouTube shit. Like, anything can go any which way at any given time when you have a YouTube shit. You can be YouTube friends one minute, and the next minute you doxing each other and cussing each other out on your platform. Hey, Clyde, I was just talking about you and your 5011 names. But yeah, so she was pissed off because Carol, she didn't go after that information on the Brainiac, but she did let people know about the picture and about him having to move and things like that. And so since Carol is rich, she got that bag from her dead husband, Heavenly didn't put it past Carol to pay somebody for the pictures. And Heavenly was waiting for Carol to try to come at her personal life because she had something for her if she did. What Heavenly said was she got a 6-inch titanium reinforced stiletto with that bitch's Carol name written all over it. So she was begging for her to come after her. Now, let's move on to Boy Jane. And I think that's one of the characters I'm going to like. Boy Jane. Boy Jane, again, is a friendly young butch lesbian. Boy Jane had made, and she's a YouTuber, and Boy Jane had made a breaking news video announcing the release of The Dragon from prison. Boy Jane, who works at this center that helps housing ex-cons, she had caught sight of the Dragon at a center that helps women, get out, who's fresh out of prison or out of jail, help them with housing. But since Boy Jane, who works at the center, didn't want any other YouTubers knowing where she's employed, as she should not, she didn't approach the Dragon. Even if she was a little cutie, she was like, she is a little cute, she is a lesbian, but she ain't that cute. She ain't that cute. And said she made a video about it and went online, told everybody she saw the Dragon at a center. And that was crazy because it was like as if the Dragon might not put two and two together. Like, you saw me at the center. I know you didn't get out of prison. So what the hell are you doing there? Ding, ding, ding. She obviously worked there. But after making the video, Boy Jane said, this probably ain't going to be up for long. You know how these YouTubers be throwing YouTube videos up, then they snatch that shit down or put it on private. So she warned everybody that it might be eventually put on private. Now, the Dragon. Let me tell you about the Dragon. Her real name is Shirley Simpson. She's from LA. And she was she is a legend on the YouTube streets of the B sector. She's also a lesbian like Boy Jane, I should say. But she used to date men. She used to date men. But before getting locked up, the dragon started dating another YouTuber named Trina, also from LA. But eventually, as it sometimes happens on YouTube, both ladies they started beefing. Next thing you know, Trina's putting out some secretly recorded audio of the conversation between her and Shirley, telling people Shirley hate men and da 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 da. And that is when Shirley became the dragon. Because Shirley must have dragged Trina for filth, putting out all her personal and private information, such as Trina used to be married to an abusive man. She had like 3, 4, 5, 11 abortions in the past. Shirley made video after video several times a day for months, dragging the shit out of Trina. So one day, Trina had enough. She decided she was going to confront Shirley, the dragon, at her job in downtown LA. But had Trina known beforehand that that the dragon had a very violent history, had she had known beforehand that the dragon had a very violent history, she might have stayed her ass home, or at least stayed her ass on YouTube just talking shit. On the day Trina made a trip to her job, she also made a trip to the hospital. And eventually, excuse me, and eventually the dragon also made a trip, but to prison. The very same prison she was housed at when she killed her stepfather years ago. And I'm sure they're going to get into that story soon because they didn't really get into it in chapter 1. Now, once out of jail, the dragon had her mind set on restarting her YouTube channel. And I swear this reminds me of another YouTuber, but I ain't going to say no names. But I am looking forward to see if they're going to start their YouTube channel back up once they are able to. But anyway, the dragon, she had her mind set on restarting her YouTube channel, and also she started searching for Trina. But she didn't want to wind back up in prison. So she was like, she want to get her hands on this girl. She, you know what I'm saying? But she just trying to do it the right way without landing back up in prison yet again. Okay. Now, once Boy Jane and everybody else in the sector started discussing the dragon's release from prison, Trina shut down all her social media platforms, including YouTube. And it was at that time that Ralph decided, all this shit is so interesting. All these different content creators, all these different beefs. He started taking notes down and decided that he was going to create a new book because before he started on YouTube, again, he was a writer. We know he was a writer, but he was having like some writing block, during the pandemic. And that's what led him to YouTube in the first place, thinking he could try to find something on YouTube, some type of content to get his writing mojo back, right? And this is literally what got him back into writing, was seeing all this shit in the YouTube sector. But of course, he didn't want to write about specific people on YouTube. He chose fake names. When he approached these stories or his book, he was just going to take like different stories that he has seen or heard about in the B sector and put like his own little spin on it, with different names, different storylines. And that was also to prevent people, from recognizing themselves and being able to cash out or try to cash out, because they would most likely cause some legal issues down the line, specifically coming at him, in court for a bag, coming at him for his bag, to get a bag. Hey everybody, I'm reading away and I'm trying to stay up with the chat as well. What's up, CC, Rhonda, and Heaven Sent? Hey now, Miss Pretty Wings. But yeah, so that's a smart thing to do. That's a smart thing to do. And there are several YouTubers who have already wrote books on the beef sector and they use different names and different storylines. But sometimes you can read between the lines. I know who they talking about. But in chapter 1 so far, I cannot honestly say that any of the characters bring to my mind, any of the real characters on YouTube who be in beef. So I can't say that. So I think so far Mr. Blaine has done a great job. Now, the Brainiac, after being fired from his job, after losing his home, his apartment, he's back. He was MIA for some time, but he is now back on the YouTube streets of the B sector. But he is now living at a new location, which is actually in the basement of his parents' crib. He's 33 years old, and he's obviously, from what I read, very humiliated, embarrassed, to have resort to moving back in with his parents over some damn YouTube beef going wrong. And of course, since Ralph was the only one he was beefing with at the time, he assumes that Ralph was the one who doxed him, even though I had this hair in my face. Even though Ralph has made it clear many times on the video that he despises doxing, but that's how it be sometimes. Sometimes the people who really hate doxing, hey, Tex Coco, sometimes the people who really hate doxing be the ones accused of doxing. And if you really don't know them personally, it's like, how do we know that they really ain't doxing just because they say they ain't doxing? Because we do hear people say they don't dox. Then next thing you know, they on their panel reading people's information, showing pictures, giving out their YouTube name, their IG name. Y'all know how I go. Y'all know how I go. But speaking of doxing, Ralph gets a call from Queen Carol, who he has kind of built a YouTube shit with as well. Carol actually is like one of the only people on YouTube who has his phone number, by the way. Carol was giving him the heads up that somebody actually doxing him, even though he never doxed anybody. But again, the Brainiac was convinced that Ralph doxed him. So he turned around and doxed Ralph. In doxing him, he done found out about his criminal past, about him spending time in prison. $100 was all it took for the Brainiac to be able to get all the tea on Ralph. And albeit the 411 that the Brainiac found on Ralph was all true, Ralph was totally innocent of doxing the Brainiac. But, that's how it goes. Now, as far as Ralph's past, what had happened was, when Ralph was younger, he went by the name of Connor. Well, that's his real name. That's like his government name, okay? His government name is Connor Butler. He's from Ohio, but he went away to college in New York. And he got into a little trouble once he got to college. Now, he was the kind of person who grew up with both sets of parents. They had good jobs. For the most part, he was a good teenager. He did a little weed here, a little drinking here, but for the most part, he was a good teenager. He ended up going to the same college that his parents went to, moved to New York. But when he got into New York, he started hanging around like the wrong crowd, hanging out in the village, in gay bars, even though he wasn't old enough. He was used to, again, smoking a little pot and having a little taste of liquor every now and then back at home. But in college, he soon became introduced to cocaine and eventually started selling it as well. And before the end of his second year at Columbia University, he was arrested and locked up, for distributing cocaine. My bad. This is my third video today, y'all. I'm like almost hoarse. I did 2 videos on R. Kelly trial earlier, if you missed it. But yeah, so before his end of his second year at Columbia University, he was arrested for distributing cocaine, and that was the first time he had to stay in prison. His first time. Now, Queen Carol, back to her. Brainiac was not the only one to be doxxed. Ralph was not the only one to be doxxed. Out of the blue appeared a new content creator in the B sector. This content creator used an avatar for their profile pic, which is, again, not uncommon on YouTube, especially in the B sector. Avatars can help. They can help a content creator not get doxxed, but not all the time, because we all know if somebody is truly desperate, they will find out who you really are one way or another. If it takes a whole team of YouTubers or subscribers, they will find out who you are, where you live, where you work, who your mama is, who your pappy is, who your children is, etc., etc. Now, this mysterious newbie, he came out the gate, doxing. Just came out the gate. He made a video. He made a video on his avatar. Again, he's the avatar, right? And from the description, you can't hardly see a face. It's kind of like a hoodie over the avatar, like it's wearing a hoodie, and it has like this mechanical voice attached to the hooded avatar. The next YouTuber to be doxxed was by this new content creator, and that was Queen Carol. Come to find out, Queen Carol is actually a trans woman. And remember earlier in the show, I said when I was introducing all the characters that I didn't want to give Queen Carol's other name. But Queen Carol actually went by Charles Anthony Jackson. Charles Anthony Jackson. That is Queen Carol's government name. Okay, so all this information is being put out now by this mysterious avatar. She's a trans woman, right? Because she used to be a man. She's now going by Queen Carol. So what had happened was with Queen Carol, she was born a man by the name of Charles Anthony Jackson on June 15th, 1959 in Utica, New York. Now, even as a child, Charles showed feminine signs, from his looks, how he walked, how he talked, how he dressed. It got to the point where his mother was just like, okay, I can't do nothing about this. So I'm just going to accept him as one of my three daughters. And that's exactly what she did. She just accepted him and called him one of her daughters. And back in the day, while trying to save up money to fully transition, because he didn't have it like that, he started doing all kind of strange things for change, including prostituting himself. Charles started going by the name of Carol, and Carol met a businessman by the name of George. And the two, after hooking up, eventually started dating, even though George knew that Carol was not all woman. She was not born a female, but he really liked what he saw. So much so that he gave her $24,000 right after they met to get a passport so she could travel with him around the world, to find a better place because she was living in the dumps. And also, most importantly, to stop tricking. He wanted her to stop, out there prostituting. Save it all for him. Save it all for him. George, who was not married at the time, soon made Carol his wife. And now all that information, all that tea on Queen Carol is now in the B sector on the YouTube streets. And that is my review of chapter 1 of Timothy Blaine's newest book. What's up, Rick Reed? Hey, I am enjoying this book already. It's only like the first chapter that I read. Murder in the B Sector. Shout out to Timothy Blaine on his newest book, Murder in the B Sector. Y'all better get you one. Get you a copy. I ordered mine from Amazon Prime, but it is on Kindle. So for those of y'all who like to just read online on your phone, on your iPad, your laptop, whatever, it is available on Kindle for only like $5.99. I think the book was $14 or $12.99. And again, I bought the book because I wanted to actually have my own personal copy of this book. One day I hope to meet Timothy Blaine and have him sign and put his John Hancock in my book. But anyway, the back of the book says, when doxing goes horribly wrong, there's been another one. Somebody else has been killed. Babies, I just got this story and it's been verified. Another man tied to the sector has been found dead. This time it was a bomb in downtown San Francisco. What the fuck is happening, people? Is there a nut out there coming for us all? This time they picked the wrong one. Now I'm only on chapter 1, so I don't know who's doing any murders right now. But yes, please like and share the video. Rick Reese, and he read the book as well. Yes, I am enjoying it so far. I read the first chapter. It's only 9 chapters. So again, I'm going to do a review like every 3 or 4 days. I know people are going to be buying the book. It's going to be flying off the shelf. And, it's okay to promote other people's stuff. Mr. Tim, he did a good job on this book. And, yep, it's right here, Deanna. I got mine in the mail today. Sure did. They dropped it on my doorstep today, and I ordered it. Let's see, what's today? Wednesday? I want to say I ordered it maybe. It was the day he said it was back up, the book was back up. So I think that might have been Friday or Saturday when he might have said the book was back up for sale on Amazon. So it didn't take that long. It took like 3 or 4 days for me to get it, if that. But yeah. So again, I hope everybody enjoyed my first review on chapter 1 of the book. You guys make sure support Mr. Timothy Blaine. Go get his book or go get the Kindle version off of Amazon. Again, I'm gonna put the link in the chat to where you can get the book and also to his YouTube channel. And again, make sure you like and share the video. Subscribe to the Hood Table if you're not already subscribed. Today is Thursday, so I'll probably do my next review either Saturday or Sunday on chapter 2. And on that note, everybody, stay safe, be blessed, remain vigilant as all times. And as I always tell y'all, don't forget to keep it hood. Bye.